Welcome to Vacation Rental Mastery, where your host, Karan Narang, guides you through harnessing vacation rental investments. Whether you're new to vacation rentals or expanding your portfolio, this podcast fuels your path to freedom. Join us in this movement to transform your life. Ready for change and legacy building? You're in the right place. Let's embark on this freedom journey and master vacation rental investing together.
Let's start, tell me a little bit about yourself. I saw your email. You mentioned a little bit about your journey and how you got to this point. Tell me a little more about, how this came about to be.
Yeah, so I've been in the short-term rentals space for, I think we just wrapped up the third season. So COVID for me was pretty beneficial. So that forced isolation really forced me to look at my life and figure out what journey I really wanted to go on. And leading up to that point, I was fairly unhappy. I was working at a bank, a large bank down in New York City. Spent last decade basically coining that experience and getting that professionalism to go down that path, which I thought is what I really wanted to do. And there was just this emptiness inside, going in and to the office every day and just seeing people kind of with that robotic look on their face, just kind of trekking in long journeys, putting in the long hours, showboating the money that they were making, and then schlumping home. And so leading up to that point, I think I started to understand that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I was trying to do different things. At one point, I was trying to build an app. It was actually funny. I was trying to build an app for a happy hour app in New York City, and it was right before COVID hit. So thank God all of that didn't work out. But nonetheless, what was cool is that COVID hit, and I really took it for what it was. We obviously had a lot of isolation. I was in my apartment 24 hours a day like everybody else, and I started to pick up different readings and whatnot, a lot of self-help stuff in the beginning, which was really helpful. But then I came across a real estate book. I believe it was Long Distance Real Estate Investing by David Green.
There you go.
And the reason why I picked that one was because I was living in New York City and I didn't feel like I was going to buy anything there. So I was like, I guess I got to have to do something somewhere. So it was pretty intuitive for me. I had the financial background, and I was an analyst by trade. So I came to it pretty swiftly. And then basically throughout the rest of 2020, I was consuming everything about real estate. I listened to all the podcasts, all the books, all that stuff. And I made a decision that I was trying to buy my first piece of real estate by the end of 2020. Funny enough, what happened was short-term rentals were never even a thought of me. I was trying to buy stuff down in Philadelphia. I was going to burn my way to 100 units and get myself to financial freedom. I was going down there every weekend and meet brokers and all that stuff, but that turned out to be pretty competitive. So I ended up tabling that. I ended up looking in Columbus, Ohio for a bit. Just given some random data that I came across, it said that was a good market, and that also proves pretty competitive and challenging. So then I ended up coming to the conclusion that I'm going to start looking at a markets that I know, that I have personal connections to. And my grandparents and I have aunts and uncles, they live in the Bal Harbour, Maine area, where Acadia National Park is.
Yep.
So I decided I'd go look up there, and I bought a 4-unit that had 2 short-term rentals on it and 2 long-term rentals on it. And going into that season, trying to learn how to market and all that stuff for those 2 rentals, I quickly started to see that the short-term rental market was the easiest path to get me to financial freedom quickly, as well as get me towards my goal of being able to travel full time, so which I'm still in the mix for. So now what was challenging was that at that point I was starting to see the bookings come through. I was still doing a lot of this stuff in New York City, And then I was like, wait, I have to figure out how to manage these things like in person. So it was hard to find cleaners, it was hard to find handymen. And so one day my lease was coming up and I was working from home still. And at that point, it was probably over a year of still working from home. The bank I was working for gave me no visibility on coming back to work. So I just called up U-Haul one day, and a month before my lease ended, I just packed it up and I drove up to Bar Harbor, and I lived with my grandparents for the summer. And I took all the school of hard knocks with the short-term rental games to try to figure out exactly how that was. But what proved pretty well was that me moving up there and taking a hands-on approach is I started to build some really good connections. And so from there, I connected with a family friend who is a real estate agent who is now my business partner. But at the time, I told him, I said, I want I want to buy 5 more of these by the end of the 2021, so that I had my plan. Basically, 5 would put me where I could jump out of my job and do it full time. So we threw out a ton of offers. Somehow everything fell. I don't know how, but and then I had to figure out how to buy them all, because I actually didn't have all the cash for that. So that's actually where I went to the school of hard knocks on the creative financing route.
Oh, that's awesome. Quite the story, Justin. I'll tell you what's very interesting is a lot of people talk about how, like COVID was the best time ever, and now, we're never going to see it again. I think people forget the story, miss the story about how so many of us, including myself, I started during that COVID time. Honestly, that first year, I bought 7 rentals, and that changed the game for me completely. And that's allowed me to get to this point of achieving, I'll call it the freedoms. There are multiple freedoms, right? I just quit my W-2 at the beginning of the year, so December 31st was my last day on my W-2 job. It's allowed me time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. And again, that's my goal, to be honest with you. That's the goal with this podcast, is to help people achieve those freedoms. It's really interesting because you're my first guest on this. And the whole concept of this podcast is going to be that it's how do you achieve these freedoms? A lot of people tend to forget that in order to achieve these freedoms, it's not just an investment. It's not just, hey, I'm investing the money and it's going to result in X dollars of returns and I can go live a happy life. People are building these properties, people are buying these rental properties hoping to make money. That's great, but that's only one part of the equation. But along the process, if it's going to end up creating a new job for you where you do not have those freedoms, because freedom is not just financial, right? You got the time freedom, you got the location freedom, you got the relationship freedoms, right? Who you want to work with, who you do not want to work with. Do you have the time in the day to actually go travel? You mentioned the whole travel thing. So my family, my wife and myself with my 3 little kids, we travel the world, and we've this year alone in 2024, we spent 5 weeks in the summer going to India, where our family's from, Cambodia, Thailand, and Indonesia, right? All while my team was handling the business here with little involvement from me. Same thing, in December, we went down to Peru, which is to Machu Picchu, and we went down to Patagonia for, I think we were gone maybe 3.5 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks maybe. And the team handles it, and the portfolio has grown, the business has grown, and the whole idea is to retain those freedoms. A lot of people get into the cycle of, I'm going to build a business, I'm going to buy this property, I'm going to make a lot of money. They forget about all the other freedoms, and that's the problem, right? So it soon becomes another job that you're back in the rat race that way, and that's what we want to try and preserve. So your message is really, really good, and it's good to see that you're very aligned with that. Now let me ask you this: a big change, New York City guy in banking, moving up to Maine in the middle of nature, basically completely out of the rat race. In my opinion, that's what it is. To me, hey, that's location freedom. That's great. You picked up and you left and you went. But what's that transition like for you?
It was challenging. I mean, it was exciting. It was scary. I mean, I think every person who's probably listening to this on the verge of saying like, "Hey, that's what I want." Like, I had all those same feelings. Like, am I crazy for doing all this? And that transition was tough. But you know what? Like, as hard as it was at the time to just basically bet on myself and say, I don't know what I'm doing. Um, I think that's it. Being an analyst by trade too is like, I have to have all the answers, like naturally, but what was difficult was that no matter how much research I did, you're not going to know everything.
Yeah.
I think that mental barrier, breaking that, is what has allowed me to um, propel much quicker. Is knowing that, like, if you bet on yourself, you build confidence, you have all these things. Um, if you know that you're just resourceful, then you're going to take an informed decision. Now, I'm not taking uninformed decisions, but I'm taking an informed decision without all the answers and saying, I'll figure it out, or my team will figure it out.
That's really interesting you say that, because the biggest reason most investors or most people wanting to achieve what you've done won't take action is because it's very difficult to make decisions in uncertain times. If you're uncertain about what the outcome of this is going to be, it's almost impossible to take that action. And this is why a lot of people seek out this whole mentoring and coaching perspective, is because you're following in the footsteps of someone. So I find this happen so often, where people are just not willing to take that step because they're not 100% sure about everything they do, right? And you're never going to be. Even after you go out and buy a successful property, you put it in service, and do all this, you're not certain what next year is going to look like, right? Let's be
Yep.
honest. But you got to have that faith, you got to believe in it, because again, the way I look at it is, if you give it a shot, you have a chance of success. If you
Yep.
don't try, you're never going to know, right? So which one is it?
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
100%.
that's definitely very interesting. Now, any family, kids, wife, anything like that, or just by yourself?
No, I mean, that definitely was helped me. So I was single in New York. It made it very easy to pack up a U-Haul and leave. I can see how other people might have a little bit of trouble doing something like that, but at the end of the day, it was still betting in myself personally.
Awesome.
And I think, yeah, as I look back, and we were talking about the whole uh, kind of not having all the answers. What's funny is that I think what I've learned over the last 3 years is that I've actually used it as like a game. It's actually fun now, is where I don't know all the answers, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to make as quick, informed decisions as I can. So typically things come across my desk and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, well, I can spend a week analyzing all this stuff to make a decision that I'm still not going to have the answers for, or I can implement a informed decision right now that I think is a gut decision. We're going to put it in place. And then in a week, I'll even know if it's right or wrong. And then I'll make the right decision and pivot. And that helps you kind of snowball much quicker.
Yeah, it's all about that flexibility, man. Being able to adapt, being able to shift and move focus and change things. That's part of being the entrepreneur, right? You're going to give different things a shot. A lot of them are not going to work, but then there's going to be the couple that work that really take you to the next level. So,
Yeah.
talking about that, let's pivot a little bit here. You spoke about the business. It sounds like you've also partnered into a property management business up there locally, and you're managing a number of different properties. Tell us a little bit about that whole pivot to owning real estate and managing your own properties, to going out and becoming a full-fledged property manager in the area.
Sure. Yeah. It's funny how it came about. It kind of spurred out of necessity. So, I guess the blessing for my market, why I've had so much traction in being able to buy rentals is because I'm not competing with a lot of, we'll call it investor dollars, like out of state investor dollars. And the reason, I guess I have a theory here, but the reason is because there is a lack of infrastructure. Even for myself, I live in Portland, Maine, which is 3 hours away from Bar Harbor. It's still a challenge to find all the resources and people. I've looked at the beginning, I was looking at every single property manager and being like, all right, do I trust this person? Can they do this? And I had no conviction. And on top of that, there's really only booking managers up there. So because of all the labor challenges, they have many of these managers only focus on the front end marketing side of it. And they basically say, hey, good luck when it comes time to clean this thing, and good luck if anything happens. And so there's really only a few smaller full service managers, but when I questioned them, they really had no idea about the true market pricing. So I was like, I'm like, I'm going to leave a ton of revenue on the table here. So it's funny how it came about. I had a buddy that went to high school with that was doing property management. He was a financial analyst for a assisted living property
Okay.
manager in Boston. And he's very analytical, loves a lot of this stuff. And we just kind of reconnected. We started chatting. I showed him what I was doing, and and he was fascinated with it. And he asked me, he's like, "Hey, if you ever need help, like with some of this, like let me know." Like, and I was like, "All right." And at the beginning, I'm like, "I can pay you a little bit to kind of help me on the back end to do some of this stuff." And I was more the boots on the ground, like maintenance guy and coordinating the cleaners. So he just needed to do the back end stuff. And it came to the point where he loved it. And then when I closed on a bunch more properties, it came to the point where I could sustain offering him to come basically do it for me full time. And uh, he jumped, which was awesome. And at the beginning, it was supposed to be just for internal property management, but as soon as we kind of put a lot of the connections in place for a lot of the we'll call it the more hard necessities of the property management side, the maintenance and the cleaning and all this stuff, people um, in my network up there started to ask me if we would manage for them. And that's when we quickly were like, oh, okay, I think we've stumbled into a business here. And that's been 2 seasons now with that. And we're approaching the 50 properties mark now. And I think our addressable market is north of 300. So we're excited to
Wow.
keep growing here.
Oh, awesome, man. And it's very interesting because in a lot of different markets, full service property managers are a dying breed. Okay. And 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 I think what's the game changer for you in your market, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that it takes a different level of presence and a different level of team management that's required to truly manage these properties. Is this labor shortage, not having enough people up there, not enough infrastructure, that's creating this perfect storm for you to come out and start this full service property management. And especially, you brought up an important point. Traditional full service property managers generally do not know and understand, dynamic pricing, marketing, direct to guest experiences, getting them to come back and book direct and stay with you. They don't understand. They're not necessarily as savvy as some of the new age property managers that are coming out there. So it seems like it's like the perfect storm brewing in your case.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think what I've learned is that it took an unbelievable amount of local connections for me to kind of build this. And thank God I have family up there that are it's a very mom and pop who you know type of community. Thank God I have family up there that have allowed me to continue to expand my local network. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I can speak exactly to that. Is that one of the biggest property managers is Vacasa, and they've tried to breach into our market, and they have fallen flat. Now they do still manage a bunch because there is no other real full service manager. Now we're in place and we're starting to steal their clients, but um, Vacasa fell flat because Vacasa has no local presence. They do not have an expertise in this market, and they don't have the connections that are available to overcome these labor hurdles. So it's been, to what you said, it's been the most giving opportunity for us is that we're taking it from a more local approach with the community, and it's turning into quite an opportunity that we think we're going to dominate this market.
No, that's absolutely spectacular. Now you spoke about the labor challenges, and I know that is one of the big challenges for you up there. So how do you circumvent these shortage of labor? And again, it's across most markets. You're having this issue, and you
Sure.
need to have that established team on the ground. What are you doing to change that for you?
Yeah, so the way that we really look to do it is we're vertically integrating into basically all the service lines over time. The first one that we made the decision last year to get into is the cleaning side of it. So leading up to 2020, 2022 season, we leveraged third-party cleaning companies that were up there. The challenge was for them is that there was middleman there. And so the owner needs to make some money so they can only charge X amount of dollars to the end cleaner. Um, I worked with the local cleaners that we were working with. I voluntarily increased my pay to them so that they can pay more to the market. So it did prove to be beneficial. There was still a hindering limitation of its quality control that we didn't get. So what we decided to do last year was to cut out middleman, hire cleaners directly, in-house, and we've kind of built a company around that we pay, I would say, anywhere $10 to $15 more per hour versus kind of the standard market rate. Now, these are for 1099 cleaners, but it has spurred a lot of demand for us. Now, we do, on some cleans, we make some margin. Say it's more of a loss leader or a break even. For us, it doesn't really matter because all it does is secures for us, allows us the conviction to potential clients that we can actually have quality turnover and consistent turnover, which is what they like. So basically, we're using it as that segment as a loss leader to drive the marketing in our.
Okay. I'm going to pause this really quick because I'm having some audio issues right now. I'm not necessarily sure what's happening here, but give me a second, okay? I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think it's could be audio on your end. Are you using a mic on your computer?
Yeah. Do you want me to? Well, I'm using the headphones. Do you want me to switch to off on it?
Actually, I think it is your headphones that kind of choppy, it was kind of crackling quite a bit because I'm in fully wired mode.
All right, give me 1 second. I'll try these other headphones. They might be better. Or I can do it. So,
Does that sound better?
Oh, way better, way better.
Okay, there we
Yep,
go.
no, thank you for that. If you don't mind, I'm going to go through that last question real quick again.
No problem.
I didn't want to interrupt in the middle in case it was on my end. So Justin, you were talking about the challenges with labor shortages. Can you tell us what you're doing to circumvent those issues?
1 second. The connected and then disconnected. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Let me just turn that volume up on these. Okay. That should be good.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, good.
Yeah, so Justin, like we're chatting, you were mentioning the challenges on the labor front. Can you tell us what you and your team are doing to try and circumvent those challenges?
Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is vertically integrate into the different service lines that we're helping to contract for this management company. And what really kickstarted it, that's really helped us, was last season, the 2023 season, we integrated into cleaning directly. So the 2022 season, the year before, we had contracted out all of our cleaning to third-party cleaning businesses. There is a market for them. Like there are these established businesses, but they have that middleman where the owner basically needs to make margin.
Yep.
And what we found is that there was a lot of difficulty with still staffing because of the lost margin that was there. And we were trying to work with them directly where we can, I offer to increase my rates to these third-party cleaning companies so that they can pay higher wages. And it did seem to help, but there was still lost margin. So last year, what we ended up doing was we cut out the middleman. We started to hire direct cleaners, and now we pay about $10 to $15 more per hour for the 1099 cleaners than the standard market rate. And what that's really helped us do is drive demand, and it allows us to get more control over the quality of the product and whatnot. Now we look at it as basically a loss leader, maybe even a break even. The more we scale, the more margin we do make, but making the decision to kind of integrate in it was basically like, hey, even if we lost money on this or it's a break even on cleaning, we are going to be driving more demand for the overall management services, which are much higher margin. So we're covering it, and it's been so far so good. I mean, we still have labor challenges, but it's proving to be beneficial that we made that move, and we kind of shot off the hip last year to do it, and we learned a ton. But now we're at the next stage where the next vertical integration is going to be into laundry. So that's what I'm trying to source now.
Yeah, always the biggest challenge, especially if you manage as many units as you're managing. Now, I think you did mention you're going to or try to build an off-site laundry facility. Are there no commercial providers with the ability there? Because there is commercial cleaning service, as we know, like laundry services that hotels use typically. Do those not exist up there?
They do. They're very shaky and small businesses. I'm actually in chats with one of them right now about acquiring that business. And there are a lot of hotels, but the hotels actually ship a lot of their laundry an hour out to Bangor, which is an hour outside of the island, to get it done, which is a bigger market and has a lot more of that. So from a local standpoint, it's much more difficult. So I haven't had conviction in the quality of those services to be able to make sure that we can not have any hiccups. But I am working with like I said, one of the companies right now where either some type of acquisition or maybe even for this upcoming season, maybe a preferred rate so that we can kind of just take everything off. We have standardized all the linens. So we require all of our clients to use the same white sheets, white towels, and all this stuff, which helps a tremendous amount. But we're past the stage where we can allow laundry to be done on site because of the amount of the labor challenge that we have, and we're paying $50 an hour. It's very expensive to have a cleaner sitting there just watching the dryer go around. You know what I mean? And with the whole goal of this is if we can cut a 3-hour clean down to an hour clean or an hour and a half clean, we're going to need less cleaners on our staff because we can do more turnovers in a given 6-hour window with that same person. So that's kind of the broader goal here.
No, that's pretty awesome, and I love the fact that you're vertically integrated now. So we manage and we co-host for others, but we're the remote piece of it. We're doing the marketing, the communications, all the online presence. We're doing a lot of that stuff. But I can totally see how there's a need for this full service management, and the fact that you're doing vertically integrated makes a lot of sense, especially in the absence of the infrastructure, in the absence of labor, not being able to find the right people. Retaining and having your own team can be a total game changer there. So Justin, let me ask you this. What does the future look like for you? 5 years. Tell me your 5 years.
Yeah.
What is your vision for 5 years from now? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So I ask myself this every day, and it changes every day based on different things, but it's still in general something that I put a lot of time and effort into understanding, because the way that I look at it is I would like to leverage, we'll call it two different businesses. One, the portfolio, where I now have partners and a strong partnership where we're looking to take down much bigger assets. These are going to could be hotels and motels in the near future, but large cottage complexes and our RV camping sites and whatnot. So we're looking to get into that stuff. And me building the management company in tandem with that allows us basically free reign to go raise capital if need be and buy anything because we'll have the people around. So that's definitely of an interest. That's where my passion lies. I'd much rather just be able to have the freedom to go buy a bunch of real estate and deal with that. With that, I will need to probably integrate into construction, which can help me on the management side as well. But we're having labor challenges with the contracting side where we have a lot of opportunity to continue to purchase things, but we're limited by the amount of construction labor that we can find to kind of do these deals. So that's kind of one of those on the portfolio side that I'm looking to integrate on. In tandem, like I said, the management company, I think, is something I stumbled into, but is the rocket fuel behind turning around this, what it can provide to the community, but also just, I mean, to my team and to myself. I mean, I think it has a tremendous amount of opportunity in the next 5 years. I mean, I'm pretty confident that in the next, we'll call it 2 years, we can be the largest vacation rental manager in the broader Acadia area. It seems to be pretty low hanging fruit. I think there's acquisition opportunities that I'm starting to entertain that can kind of just prove that for us. But outside of that, I then want to use we'll call it the proven model for how to grow a full service management company locally, and I want to copy and paste it into other markets in Maine. So I don't necessarily know if it's going to be like a franchise model thing, but I do know that I need to have a local presence that understands it. I can't take the Vacasa approach and be like, oh, there's this market and I'm going to just buy my way into it and I'm going to understand everything. So there needs to be a local presence. So there are other investors and we'll call it friends that I have that are in different markets in Maine, and we've chatted about in the future at some point, maybe partnering up, or maybe I just go and find one-off operators that I feel are local in those areas that know those markets, and I can kind of sell them a franchise opportunity. We have all the back end stuff. We have all of this. I need you to go find me cleaners, maintenance people, pest control, all this stuff, and we can kind of just kickstart into a new market. And it could be something that turns into maybe a roll-up strategy in the state of Maine. But the broader goal in the next 5 years would be to make a real big impact and hopefully become potentially the largest vacation rental manager in the state. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now let me ask you this. What's the single biggest thing that's led you to the scalability? It seems like in 3 years you've achieved a lot. What's been, the one thing, if you look back and say, you know what, this is the one thing that changed the game for me, what was that for you?
Um, it was understanding the market. The market up in where we are has changed quite a bit over the last. It's always been a vacation destination. So the Rockefellers have been going there for 100 years. They actually still have family that live up there and whatnot. It's a hotbed it's a national park, and it's driven by tourism. The way that the demand, we'll call it the people, have changed their preference on exactly how they want to stay, but the market never really is caught up to that. You still have people that are there that are, we'll call it firm root, like Mainers that are from there that have been doing this forever, that keep calling them weekly rentals because that's what they are. It's always like, hey, we rent these things from Saturday to Saturday, Sunday to Sunday, whatever it is. And that's archaic. Like, people who don't want to come up for a week necessarily. They want the flexibility to basically be able to come in at any given point for a couple of days. And plus, that also puts a huge bottleneck for cleaning on the island for limited resources that have to be done on Saturdays and Sundays. And so the whole model just doesn't make much sense, but it's still our largest competitor has like 300 listings,
Wow.
and they're only a booking manager, but they do only weekly rentals. So they're so far out of touch. Now, it's a family-owned business. They're great people and all this stuff. They haven't caught up with what the demand is. And so the real game changer for us, and it works in my benefit because I'm the investor itself, and I'm still the largest client to the management company technically, but is that we are getting way higher rates than most people know that is possible because they're stuck in a much limited demand pool, which is hindered by a 7-day minimum. Or a lot of people don't use dynamic pricing too, so they'll set $299 for every day of the entire summer. And so these things that are honestly fairly easy, I think it's and it's not even my expertise because it's my business partner, Patrick. He's the one who deals with all the marketing side of it. He's a guru there. But it's funny to think that on the front end side of it, there's a lot of help that you can get from dynamic pricing and all these marketing strategies. And once we started to really become experts in here, then we started to gain the demand of people because I can show them. I now have personally, I have 20 units, and then like I said, we're approaching into the going towards 50 now, and we have data points now. When anybody's questioning us, I can use it as a marketing tool. I can just give them a sheet. I say, this is what we made on all these units across the portfolio last year, and they're like, their eyes are open up. And so we have people that we can basically pay for our own service, and that's our biggest marketing tool. Is that they always look at it as a cost, and they're like, well, it's going to be we charge 20% right now, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a 20% fee to basically manage that. And I go, yeah, but on average we're making 20 to 25, 30%
You're
higher
definitely,
revenues for our clients.
yeah, definitely earning your keep is what you're trying to explain to them, that it makes no difference
Exactly.
to them. The property is going to perform better. They probably get a better quality of guest in there, because you don't, if you're charging a little more and giving the service, there's a different type of client profile that's going to come there. So yeah, no, it
Yep.
makes total sense. See, so I can totally see why you keep saying, hey, it's low hanging fruit. It seems like the
Yep.
market hasn't matured to the point, the market's not keeping up with the trends. Market's still very new to the new way of doing short-term rentals, of managing short-term rentals. They're definitely very interesting, and seems like you have a good plan in place, fully vertically integrated to overcome all those challenges. Um, and I can totally see some markets being very specific that way. So, what are the trends like in Acadia? I mean, are you seeing those go up? Are you seeing a lot of uh, new tourism coming up, and it's stimulating the economy there?
Yeah, so on the tourism side, we've had sustained growth from, we'll call it, visitors to the park for 20 years. So every year has been more and more and more. Um, so we're benefiting from that. COVID really saw a spike because everybody was kind of
Yeah.
locked in the stateside, so they were driving to a lot of the national parks. But even since then, it's been pretty sustained. I would say there was a bit of a pullback to a degree last summer, but a lot of it I actually think was more so due to in the Northeast here specifically, we had extreme amount of rain every day in June. Basically, uh, was a washout, and so our pricing strategy, our marketing strategy is pretty aggressive because the market is still imbalanced with a supply demand dynamic. So in the given summer, if there'll be it's not uncommon to have absolutely no rental available on the island, so they'll all be booked out. And so but the demand is still there. So but a lot of the archaic people, they underprice and they are booked
Okay.
solid really early in the season. And so we are more aggressive on pricing so that we approach the season with white space and we can capture that higher demand. So that works for us. um, Except for when you have a washout, right? So that was the only thing, is we were a little bit more exposed going into June, where we had to drop pricing to basically, as people were not looking. The booking window is definitely shortened over the last few years too. So we would get a lot of last minute people that have want to come up and spend a lot of money. So it's something we're monitoring, but overall the trends are still pretty strong. I think there's a lot of fundamentals in my market that are very appealing to what we're doing. It's on an island um, that's taken up 60% by a national park. So you can't really, and there's a lot of building restrictions already in place. So we're not seeing like a large supply increase. It's definitely not like in markets like the Smokies where you can just go farther
Yeah.
and farther out. We're kind of limited to the only way you can go is off the island, which it is a growing population of rentals over that way. But most people want to be on the island because that's where the park is. So that proves to be pretty strong for us. And we get really good, strong returns and really good nightly rates as it is now. We are starting to learn and trying to make sure that we're being keen on understanding as we get more, we'll call it control of the market, the pricing of the market, because when we have 50, 100, 300 listings, we're going to be competing with our own properties. So we need to be able to be diligent in making sure that we're filling up demand evenly for our clients and not just playing like a shark against one better one to another one. We got to make sure everybody's happy. So it is something that we have to be a little bit more um, conscious of as we kind of scale here.
Yeah, new challenges as the business scales, right? So No, that's very, very interesting. Looks like you're on a good trajectory. Looks like you're moving in the right direction. So I want you to think about this and tell me, right? 10 years from today, I'm going to be. Can you finish that statement for me?
I'm going to be traveling full time. Hopefully probably maybe have a family by then, but a I'm going to be a lifestyle entrepreneur, and that's my goal. I mean, I think we chatted about this in the beginning, is that my life is 100% better and more fulfilling than it was when I was a zombie in New York City for the bank. Um, Things are leaps and bounds better. I'm excited every day to get to work and to do different things, but I can also be with a true startup, putting a lot of hours in, you know what I mean, and sacrificing the time freedom that we were chatting about. And at times it doesn't bother me because you don't even think about it. I'll work 16 hours in a day and not blink twice, and I'm fulfilled and all that stuff. But is that really what I want to sell out to be for the rest of my life? And I know there's a growing stage where you need to be gritty like that, and you have to kind of get in order. But you need to also have the self-awareness of, how do I want this to really turn out? Do I want to be a slave to that and whatnot? And I took this journey in the beginning was with the sole purpose to give me time freedom, the financial freedom to travel, but the time freedom to travel and do cool stuff. So I don't want to lose sight in that just because I'm super fulfilled and eager about business and I'm learning a lot and we have a ton of opportunities. So I'm trying to be diligent, and that's kind of why I mean, we're at GoBundance and we have this our themes for the year, and that's why my theme for the year is extreme delegation, because
Wow.
the more that I can do to that and not be selfish, not feel like I have to have all the answers, all the control, but instill confidence and trust in my team members and keep growing my team, it's going to take those hats off my head. It's going to give me the freedom where I can pick and choose my time accordingly so that I can jump into projects that I really feel passionate and creative about, instead of feeling like I have to do this. And then if I want to go travel, it's on somebody else's plate, and those are already in place. And then, yeah, I probably won't ever do a startup again because I think that's the biggest challenge. So I think I'll probably do the like an acquisition entrepreneur in the future. I'll probably buy then build from
That's
moving on from here.
That's what we all say, but I'll tell you what, we end up in the same place every single time because that's what you're
Yeah.
made of. That's what you're here to do, and that's what you're going to do. As much as you want to
Yeah.
change it. But hey, what I heard you say, which is actually really, really interesting, right? You didn't say I'm going to build the biggest. In 10 years from now, I'm going to own the biggest property management company around Acadia. You said 10 years from now, I'm going to have this spectacular business. It's going to afford me the freedoms to go travel the world, to be able to pay for every trip I want, and to go enjoy what I really started to do, and the reason why I changed everything. So hey, kudos to you for that, and that's definitely commendable. So you've already made that start. You already come a long way, and I predict that's way sooner than 10 years from now. That's my opinion at least. So yeah, congratulations on the success. Thank you for taking the time out today to do this with me. I really appreciate that, and I hope to inspire people to do exactly what you're doing, to get out there and change the course of their life. That's what you did. You changed your trajectory to move into a different direction that's way more fulfilling. So congratulations on that, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us on Vacation Rental Mastery. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in for our next episode, where the journey to financial freedom and lifestyle flexibility continues. Here's to your success in the exciting world of vacation rentals.